Welcome to Potentials, and thank you everyone for returning to watch. And I'm going to introduce my wonderful guests tonight. I have Frank Chili and Dr. Andrea Martin, and we're going to talk about some very wonderful things tonight. And first, we're going to start with Andrea, who is going to share with us a message that she received from the Nine. So
Yes. So
I'm going to share screen
I'll share
because
screen so I can try to read
it
it.
has, if we can, nope, that's the wrong one.
That's all right.
There's two of these, I think. Yes. So we're going to start with the cards. Oh no, we're going to start
We'll
with
start with the message. Yeah.
a message. Okay,
Yes.
you can read this.
I
Okay,
know I could have printed it out, but I didn't. So now,
that's
now,
fine.
now we got to fumble.
We're
For some
gonna.
reason, I can't pull it up on my computer while the Zoom is on. So
Okay.
yeah, they I was hoping to get something nice for tonight, and they did come through as they always do. Last night, and this was their message. It's probably one of the more kind of cryptic type messages that I got, and one of our friends, Evan, was helpful in decoding some of this. But the first thing they did was show me this amazing, massive waterfall structure. It's almost like Niagara, but like more magical in its feels. And they were like showing me the waterfall coming down, but they really wanted to zoom in on the splash zone and the really foamy water coming up on the bottom. So I'll leave that for people to interpret what they think that means. And then
Okay.
instead of a more fluid type transmission in the telepathic discourse, they were presenting things in sentences, which was different. So they came on, they said, well, this is only the beginning. Amuse yourselves in nature and begin to see the world for what it is. It is yours to enjoy and seek with a splendor that is you, for you are the gateway. It says, follow the path through this passage gate, for it will lead you home. So I had to wait like in between each one of these things. And so
Wow.
the meanings are clear. You know them already. When the time arises in springtime, you will know the truth, the reality of what you seek. Horizons are near, and the well of knowledge is deep. In the arms of tomorrow, the answers that you seek will embrace you. And they were trying to say that what I got through the background of that message was that stop looking for stuff, stop running for stuff, stop trying to find things. They said it is looking for you, and then it will just find you. So they will seek you instead of you searching for them. Allow and simply receive. Sight and sound are new when this message is revealed come spring. And now they show me that I'm taking to this, it was an interesting planet. They took me like, okay, really like dark. It looks like it almost never has light, but probably, I don't know, but that's what it was. That was the sensation I got, that this planet was always like this dark nighttime planet with this charcoal gray, rocky ledges everywhere. No dirt, no, like just rocks and like weird. Then before a large cliff of this like charcoal gray rocks, there was this massive crystal structure, just crystals, natural crystals, massive ones. I mean, they must have been like 12 feet high or more, big, small ones all along the base of them, and then this massive crystals that were falling up, and they were glowing from within. They were blue. So a friend of mine I said, what was this? And she says, I think that was, I think that, she says, that's technology, Pleiadian technology. That's what that was supposed to represent. So I think with this message, people should kind of just feel like what they want to get out of it, and that would make the most sense. So then they kind of held off at that point, and I said, do you want me should we use a tarot? And they said yes. So I grabbed the box of tarot. They always tell me which box to use, and this is the Starseed tarot, and they seem to like that one a lot. I don't think.
I like it too.
Yeah. So, well, they've got good taste, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, I do jumpers, and while I was shuffling the cards, I kept hearing the void, the void, the void. And of course that is the card that jumped out. And we'll look at that. We'll look at those in a bit, the whole
Do you want me to pull them up?
not yet, because there was a message from there that they actually kept
Okay.
going. They,
Okay.
they had
That's
actually,
right, they do. It's right here.
yeah, they actually, because sometimes you don't know, you wait And then you see if they have more to say. So again, I got words. It said silence, heal, and be. And this had to do with the tarot image of the void. And they said experience moving and not moving through a vast, comforting warmth. Be enveloped by a fog of possibilities of everything in a constant experience at the moment. And they gave me this image, I guess, a sensation of floating in a deep swirling cloud of fog. So while I was being, transported there into this actual experience, they were describing the experience as I was experiencing it. And it says, it's warm and supportive, even though we are weightless. The experience is one of gentle transformation and a depth of healing that reaches the soul. It is invigorating in the most quiet bliss of solitude. But this solitude is vast, and it encompasses a knowing of everything in a perfect stillness. Things appear that were never seen because you did not look. So while I was in this fog, like all of a sudden these like stars would start to, they started showing me. I'm like, oh, like stuff you hadn't, you're like, oh, I didn't. Um, so you did not stop to actually see, but now you can observe that which you never thought to observe, but it comes to you. You do not seek because it finds your place and appears to your soul.
Wow.
Vastness, vastness, vastness. Walk into the eternal, the space that has no end. There is no beginning and there is no end. Infinity, the infinite. And they have been showing me the infinity symbol for quite a few weeks now.
I
So
saw
it's
it today. Oh,
okay.
that's
So
so weird. There was a rubber band on my desk that was an infinity
oh,
symbol, and I
yes,
I noticed. I was That's so
yes.
wild. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
this is something that
I
I think
didn't mean.
everybody should be all of the people should be aware of that. I do believe they are contacting, and they have been. They are
That's so
contacting and are
cool.
totally connected to all of the envoys.
Mhm.
So everyone should be able to connect very easily. So the infinity symbol, yeah, that must be one of the new the new things. So you are the all-knowing, you are the creation of you are the host of all that is. In this solitude, there is a love all around you. So then they showed me, this was interesting because then they like, okay, pop out of here. And they showed me this interesting figure. It was almost like a mannequin, but it was a person. It was like it was almost like an icon of a human or a humanoid, right? And they showed me this person standing and in a red, there's some kind of a resonance that occurs. And it was like it was shattering a suit of glass or ice. So this figure had actually this like, which you couldn't see but until the resonance happened. They were actually wearing this like thin suit of I would say ice. Very, very thin, like when you shatter very thin ice.
Hmm.
And you wouldn't even know it was surprising because you didn't expect to see that until the sound happens, right? So and suddenly like there's this thread this glass just around this being just fractures and falls into all these little tiny pieces and there's like usually this and it's like just comes down like rain and that was it. Anything that was yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for
yeah, well
sharing that.
thank them for so much that they give us, all the protection.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had the void. If anybody, that was actually they took me through that card.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm gonna open it
yeah.
right here.
I
Okay.
mean, this was. I mean, I really that just. When I was shuffling the deck and I hear this, the void, the void, the void. I'm like, if that card pops out, and it did, and it did. I know how many cards are in that deck. But that card popped out. I was just like, you can't make the. It's like, wow. Okay. I said, same. So they actually kind of sent me into this card, into the fog of that, and
Right.
just being supported there. And then all
Wow.
these little star things started to come through. Like you don't notice them at first, then you start to notice them, and that was a whole section of that message. Now, what they say there is it says, stop and embrace winter, and it's just it's the great cosmic womb, which is truly, I think that's a good description of what the void is. So I didn't use the descriptions. So I don't often with tarot use the descriptions that they come in the booklets.
Right.
They gave me the description. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I got that card the other day too, so that was
Isn't that
the
they're coming?
last time that I did use that deck, I got this card. So that's
Yeah, I
interesting.
yeah, they're yeah, they're
That's
definitely
interesting.
coming more in touch with us. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And
For
then this was the
all
other,
the I mean, all the envoys, I think they're really trying to assist.
right.
Then I asked, can I get another message? I said from the, is there
Mm,
something you'd like to say from my other deck, my main deck of and they did. And I said, pull three cards for me. And these are the three cards that came out. And the last one's particularly interesting because they had showed me that the meaning of that card. And I think, Linda, you'll be able to give a little more explanation on that. So the first piece there is the man. It's
This
standing on
one.
the throne. Right? This is, King
Yep.
of Cups. This is in this deck. So usually when I see this, so I read the tarot intuitively, and this one, when it came up, was carrying the message, one of the waterfall, which they wanted to echo, as you can see there, because that was the splash zone
Right.
that they had really wanted me to look at, the splash zone. For some reason, I didn't know what the splash zone was about. Now I think what they were saying was the idea of the waves coming in. So we are going to be receiving. And this card also represents abundance. And generally when it pops up, this is galactic for me. So it's some kind of high galactic council, some rather impressive galactic presence or message that's coming through. So that's what this card is about, is the abundance and assistance that is coming through from galactic realms. I was also told this can be the raising of the arcs in the oceans as well.
Wow. I see receiving because of the direction that this is coming
Correct.
down. And
Yes.
then the crown, the galactic crown. So it's coming from above. I feel that
Right.
as soon as you saw that, I saw all that. That's really cool.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And of course, I think a lot of people are going to be able to deduce this one. Well, this is they said this is coming in, and then over here we have the cabal. This is the cabal,
Right.
and there they are. They meant metaphorically here. They're dancing in hell, so they're going to come down.
Okay.
And that was the metaphor of yeah. So excess, um, you know the dark mythology, the twisted, perverted mythology,
The
all of this.
all the inverted stuff. Yes.
Yes, the burning of who all of us are, the destruction of the God source that we all are, the illusions, the lies, but it's really the idea of illusion and lies through excess, through perversion, through greed, through all types of uh, venomous vice. And again, it pertains to celebrity. It pertains to all of these higher global type organizations, politics, you name it, any figure, not any figures, but those figures, and they know who they are, who are in
Yes.
this kind of like elitist celebrity arena that basically were trying to, were in fact, manipulating, destroying, and had, sold their soul to the devil as and that is metaphor. But
Right.
they are going to be, as the picture shows here, they showed me they are going to be, basically getting their comeuppance for
Yes.
war crimes, what have you, and then they show them metaphorically burning in hell.
Right. Right.
And then the bottom card was another vision card. I couldn't believe it. Nothing popped out. This one here is the Two of Cups. So whenever I see this card, the message is generally that this is the union between the woman who is Gaia and the galactic planets, which is represented by the male figure. And this is it's kind of nice. It's partnership, and it's almost a truly fairy tale type of love that comes from this. Well, friendship. Um, and here we again have the fish symbol, which is worth kind of as this morning I was given a vision of two fish that looked exactly like that fish in the card, but there's two of them there. And they were leaping out of the water like this, but they leapt up together and formed a caduceus.
Yes.
That
Right.
was this morning.
That was beautiful.
Okay, I don't know what that
Yeah.
means, but and Linda, I think you believe that says that's like cosmic love
Yes.
or higher
Exactly.
source.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we can leave
Right.
that to interpret
Phase conjugation
phase.
longitudinal wave. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. And that
So
is shown in the bottom card there. But it is, as it said, as it shows here, you have symmetry, you have balance, you have perfection. And that's what we're aiming for. And that's with the destruction of the cabal. You will then have this. The abundance will come in. the unity will come in, the cosmic consciousness, as you see here, like these two heads floating in space, right? Behind the
Mm.
stars, if you notice in this card. Uh,
Yes.
so
And I
basically
love
yeah,
the rainbow. I
yep.
love the rainbow.
And
Yes.
that's going between the two cups, which is again that uh, sensation of sharing, of wealth, of balance. Everything is in this card is balanced except the fish, which is going to
Mhm.
start waving up through here.
Right.
So again, you have the image of the water. So the water signs, the water in tarot is emotions.
Yes.
Is knowledge, is wisdom. It is peace.
Mm.
And again, you have the moon or you could the representation of a galactic, an off planet, right? Show you the star, which is one of the best cards in the tarot. So you have almost the example of that here, radiating that white light of source from the center,
Mm. Yes.
bathing all the planets basically together is trying to show here everything, all of creation together, bathed in this white light of love and source and creation. And
Right.
again, Earth represented by the female figure and the other planets represented by the male, and they're coming together in partnership.
This is the bridge that's connecting them.
Correct.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
There we go.
A remarkable experience, Andrea. Thank you for sharing that remarkable experience.
Oh, I'm
Thank
glad they
you.
always come through. They always do. When we're ready, they come through.
Yes,
Absolutely.
truly.
So, I'm sorry I forgot to thank you both for being here, and and Frank, thank you so much for this
Well, it's an honor
presentation
and a joy always to share.
that you're going to be presenting to us. Oops. Sorry, I went too fast. Gotta
It's
go
because
back.
we're all ready. We're excited, ready to go.
There we go. Okay,
Okay,
this is the first
I'm
one.
happy to share with you folks a really unique and quite an extraordinary experience I had with an individual when I was living in Southern California. I think I may have mentioned to you folks uh, when I was living there, I worked at several various jobs, and one of the jobs I did was working as an energy consultant with 3M Products. And I happened to be traveling along Pacific Coast Highway in Costa Mesa, California. And I was drawn into this industrial park I've never been in before. And I like using this first slide, what do you know? Because all of us know something different, something unique that's worth sharing with other people that'll trigger awareness and consciousness and some vivid experiences. So I always like starting my presentations off with what do you know? So anyway, I was drawn into this industrial park in Costa Mesa off of the Pacific Coast Highway. And I'm driving through the industrial park, and all of a sudden, I come across a building that really draws my interest. And you can go to the second slide, Linda. And this image on the right is a building that had the name Solara Electronics on it. It no longer has that name on it now, but this building had the name Solara Electronics. And I was so captivated because I knew that name Solara. And I parked the car and I went and I knocked on the door and introduced myself. And somebody came from the back of the office. And as he was walking towards me, I could tell it was not the person I needed to meet. The fellow who was walking towards me happened to be Brian Fiedler. And he was the son of George Fiedler, who started Solar Electronics. And I said to Brian, I said, can you tell me a little bit about this company and about what it does? And he said, I really am not that qualified to tell you about it. But he said, my dad, who began the company, his name is George Fiedler. He said, he'll be back after 5. He said, if you'd like to return, I'm sure he would like to meet you and describe what it is that we did here. So I said, sure, that sounds great. I said, tell your dad that I'll be back after 5. And Brian was probably maybe about 30 years of age. I came back after 5 o'clock and I noticed there was another car there and I figured it was George's car. So I went in and I introduced myself to George and I said, George, I was really drawn to your company name, Solara Electronics. I said, can you tell me something about what it is that you do here? And he said, sure. He said that he was an engineer for NCR, and he was a senior engineer there. And he started reading the books of Alice Bailey. I don't know if you or Andrea know the name Alice Bailey, but she was a metaphysical writer, and she wrote 42 books regarding different aspects of metaphysics. So George started reading them, and he said they were really tough to go through. And he said, I had to read some of them standing up so that he would maintain his attention in what it is that he was reading. So after he finished the final the book, because she had passed away in 1949, she was born in 1880, and she passed away in 1949. And after he finished the 42nd book, he happened to go into meditation. And in meditation, he said that he wanted to have an active role in being a benefit to the planet. So as soon as he said that, you can go on to the third image. This being appeared to him,
Oh,
and his name is Jwa Kul.
crap. Sorry. I'm trying to
That's
make
right.
it bigger and it won't do it. So I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
And Jwa Kul appeared to him in meditation in full physical, and he said, may I be of service? And George said he would like to use his engineering capability in any way that he could to help benefit the planet. And Jwa Kul said, there is something that we would like to present to the planet Earth that's going to have a benefit to the planet Earth. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to a star being. And he said, her name is Solara. And he said, she's going to be working closely with you in designing a product that's going to have benefit to the planet Earth. So when he mentioned it to me, I said, George, I know that name Solara. I said, I had read a book based on contactees from the 50s that two women had met these space individuals, and they wrote a book called We Met the Space Visitors. And inside of the booklet was a hand drawing of what Solara looked like. And you can go to the next slide. This is an image of Samasi, okay, who Billy Meyer had been in contact with, and Andrea has been in contact with as well. Solara looked very similar to Samasi. And I do not have a copy of the booklet that originally had her image in it. But I told George, I said, George, I want to bring the image of Solara that I've seen in this booklet, and I want you to see if this is how she looks. So on our second meeting, we met, and I showed him the image that was in the booklet, and he said, Frank, that's exactly how Solara looks. So he said, I was so impressed with meeting her and what she had given to me. He said, I wanted to name the company after her as a tribute. So he named it Solara Electronics.
Wow.
So what Solara had given him was the plans for a device that would protect crops and do away with herbicides and pesticides. And the device was probably about maybe 18 and a half to 20 inches in diameter. It was round. It almost looked like, believe it or not, a landmine, but it wasn't a landmine. And it had copper that was coiled in a very specific pattern, and it ran off of a 9-volt battery. And what it did was it would amplify the magnetic energy grid of the planet and create a shield so that beings or insects that were destructive to crops would not be able to survive in it. And this only affected crickets, mice, beetles, locusts, but it had no effect on ladybugs or on butterflies or on earthworms. The frequency is specifically geared to those things that would destroy crops.
Wow.
You can go on to the next slide. Okay, the basis for Nature Shield again was actually creating a frequency that would amplify the magnetic energy field of the planet. And what it would do is it would amplify the energy grid in specific size for the need. And George had created some that would cover like a quarter-mile area, okay? And any insects that came into that area where the nature shield was, it would cause them to stop eating and drinking, and they would basically just wither and stop functioning. And with insects, it would cause them to almost become powderized. And with mice, mice would stop eating and drinking, and they would just dehydrate. And George found that it was very effective from the very first one that he had created. And he had one there, and he said, Frank, he said, on the top of it was a light. So when it was turned on, the light would be just pulsing. And George asked me to rub my hands together and then hold my hands above the device. And he said, Frank, tell me what you feel. And I could feel waves pulsing out of this device that he called the Nature Shield. And you can go on to the next slide. Again, this is a further basis of what it did. And it's based upon things that have been found to be valid scientifically by other scientists and researchers over time. But George's device worked so well that it functioned just off of a 9-volt battery and would last as long as the battery had energy. And he could calculate the size of the area that it needed to be to function in to be as effective as it was. But it had to be at ground level. You can go on to the next slide. Okay. Again, it's an electromagnetic shield. It amplifies the electromagnetic grid of the Earth. It was 18 inches in diameter, 8 inches wide. It was powered by 4 9-volt batteries. The copper wire was configured within the round plastic housing of the system. And remember when I mentioned to you about the configuration of copper wiring that was shown to Daniel Boone for the Integratron? The inside of this nature shield had a similar configuration to what Daniel had been shown by the space visitors, by the star visitors. The area that was covered by one nature shield was 200 meters by 10 hectometers in all directions, and it was weatherproof, and it had a robust design so it could be left out in all types of weather. Severe cold, severe wind, severe rain, nothing would affect it. The only thing that would cause it to perhaps need any maintenance at all would be the 4 9-volt batteries over time. You can go on to the next one. Okay, function in the nature shield, again, it amplified the energy field and had a negative effect, a destructive effect on the electromagnetic field of rodents and insects, which attack crops, rats, mice, moles, aphids, ants, cockroaches, darkling beetles, locusts, snails, spider mites, etc. And the electromagnetic field would cause disorientation and ultimately death, brought on by the stress of the electromagnetic waves on the central nervous system and endocrine systems. You can go on to the next one. The system had no effect, as I mentioned, on bees, birds, butterflies, earthworms, ladybugs, or domestic animals like cats, cows, dogs, goats, horses, etc. Now, what was interesting is when George came up with this, he started advertising the benefits of Nature Shield in farm publications. And farmers that had grain silos that were filled with corn and wheat, they would reach out to George and say they wanted to try one of these devices. And George guaranteed that every one of them would work if they were utilized in a manner that he told them that it needed to be placed at ground level and near to where the source of the protected crops needed to be. And George would say, if it didn't provide the benefit that I'm telling you it would provide, you don't need to pay for it. So he continued selling them these through the farm publications, and there started to be a word of mouth that grew about it. Well, he was contacted by Disney. Disney had a severe problem at the original Disneyland in California with mice. And George had provided, I believe, 8 of them for Disneyland, and they worked perfectly. And he also used them in docking facilities at some of the major ports around the country.
Hmm.
And then he had seen on the news that the Library of Congress was having a problem with rats attacking the bindings of the books at the Library of Congress.
Hmm.
They were drawn to the glue of the binding of the books, and they were attacking it. So George contacted the Library of Congress, and he told them about his product and said that based upon the dimensions of the Library of Congress, they would need about 10 of these devices. And he said that he would ship the 10 devices to them, and they were to use them for a 90-day period. And after 90 days, if they were not satisfied, they could be returned. Well, George showed me a letter he got from Senator Mike Mansfield, who was the senator and the chairman of the banking committee for the Senate of the United States. And 30 days after George had submitted these nature shields, Mike Mansfield wrote a letter to him thanking him for the product and enclosed a check to pay for all 10 of those units within 30 days. He didn't wait to 90 days. And he said to George, this thing worked beyond our wildest expectations. And he liked it because there were no chemicals involved, that it was all using energy. And
Yes.
George showed me a copy of the letter that he had gotten from Mike Mansfield with a copy of the check that had been submitted. So this basically satisfied George in knowing that he had a product. Not only did it work at a level for farms and for amusement parks like Disney, and for port facilities where fruits and vegetables come in that are attacked by pestilence, that it also had a positive effect on protecting the Library of Congress, the books. So you can go on to the next one.
Well,
Again, to maximize the nature shield effect, it had to be used at ground level, okay? Or it could be partially submerged or partially embedded in the ground or put into water. So it's waterproof as well. So if somebody had a farm that they wanted to protect the crops, they had to put it at ground level or in water. There was like a pond on the facility that would be in the territory that the nature shield was going to be protecting. Surface level or put partially in the ground. And if it didn't do that, it couldn't amplify the energy grid of the planet. Well, as things would happen, the farm publication, the chemical companies that would sell herbicides and pesticides started noticing that they were dropping their sales.
mm-hmm.
And they started to figure that the nature shield was starting to cut into their profit margin. So the lobbyists contacted senators and congressmen, and they wanted them to do an investigation into the nature shield. You can go on to the next slide. Okay. This goes into a little bit more detail of how the nature shield works and how it amplifies the energy grid of the planet and its effectiveness, but it has to be in line with how the product is aligned on the property. And I discussed that, and this is just more verbiage about it. You can go on to the next slide. The congressional acceptance, this goes into the Mike Mansfield sending a letter to George Fiedler about how well it worked in protecting the Library of Congress. And it was really, really remarkable. And I'm so glad that I saw this letter from George that showed how well his product worked, and he had congressional authority with being able to move forward with this and being able to say that it did work and it protected the Library of Congress from mice. Go on to the next one. Okay. These are some of the other applications, as I mentioned to you: Disneyland, corn and grain, farmers from coast to coast, grain storage facilities, and grain elevators coast to coast, marine and terminal facilities around the country, and various other diverse uses. Every one of these applications work like a charm as long as it was at ground level or in water on the property or partially submerged in the ground. You go on to the next one. Future applications. George was given plans for devices of greater area and extensive coverage called sunrise to sunset shields. I mean, these things would cover from horizon to horizon. He was also given plans for devices to clean and purify the air of contaminants and pollutants, and also plans were given for devices to clean and purify water systems and bodies of water of all contamination and pollutants. So this gift that was given to us was from our star friends, and with Joakul overseeing this program, and it was not going to require anything other than using the natural energy of the planet and amplifying it so that it would be able to clean the air of pollutants, the water of pollutants, and stop the damage to crops by pestilence.
Right.
On to the next one.
So what happened?
So what happened? Okay. This is the sad part of it. What they did was they came in, they created an injunction against George, saying that he could not sell any more of his devices until they had run it through a pattern of testing. And George said, "That's fine. I'm in full agreement with you testing the product." But what they did was, when they tested it, they put it on the shelf about 5 feet above the ground, and they put next to it cages with mice and with beetles and with locusts and with crickets and with all the kinds of things that would attack crops. And after a 90-day period, they told George that he was forbidden from selling any more of these products. He was forbidden to repair any of them, to answer any interest in what it was that somebody had a question about an application of it for their own specific purpose. They basically shut him down. The lobbyists for the chemical industry didn't want to lose sales, so they influenced the senators and congressmen to come up with this. And George had opened Solara Electronics, and when he approached his family about this concept, his family was not into metaphysics at all. And George went up against his own family to invest the nest egg that they had for the family's future to open this business. And when he shut it down, they shut off his capability of earning because he had stopped working at National Cash Register, NCR, and he was basically blackballed. Unfortunately, he could not go forward with the Nature Shield anymore. And he had a factory full of these products that were just, they couldn't be sold, and he couldn't even sell batteries to the individuals that had them that needed to replace the 4 9-volt batteries. And it was a very bitter pill that he was given, but he accepted it all in good nature. And he was told by Joakul and Solara that because our society rejected it, they will be prevented from having this. And as you know, there's problems all over the world with rats and mice and with crops that are being destroyed. And no matter what herbicides and pesticides they come up with, and the devastating effects that they have on people because they can't be washed off, by water, it continues to keep a profit level to the chemical companies that they like. And George wound up losing his family over all this. He became ostracized. And we spent a lot of time visiting with some of the other contactees. He would come out to Yucca Valley with us, and when we would go to the Integratron or go to visit Gabriel Green, he would come with us, and we became very, very good friends. But he never became bitter over it. He said he did all that he could to bring this wonderful gift to the planet, and it really worked. And he never second guessed himself with what he did. He was happy to be of service, and he wound up spending the rest of his life. He moved out of Long Beach, California, because he was basically ostracized from his family. And he rented, he bought a trailer, and he started teaching the Alice Bailey works to people that were open and receptive to it. And he spent the rest of his life in Utah. But a wonderful, wonderful individual, and a wonderful product that was a gift from the stars, was advanced technology. And I am telling you, it worked. And it was just rejected because the powers that be want to keep their games going. And I would hope at some point in the future there would be a greater receptiveness to this. And I know Solara is still out there, and I'm sure she's anxious to work with individuals that have the desire to come forward and be part of this new age of discovery and an acceptance to advanced technology that's a gift from the stars that can be utilized here, because there's needs for all these.
Yes. So there's another one. Any questions?
Just
Questions.
questions, yeah.
Well,
if someone does a Google search, they'll find the information about Nature Shield and some of the comments that people had posted. If we can go back to the second slide that showed the Solara Electronics building, the image to the left was the image that he utilized on the product. And it's basically two pyramids that intersect. And he said that that had been given to him to utilize with the product by Solara, and he had that imprinted on each one of the Nature Shields. But
it looks like a Merkaba.
The Merkaba.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. It does. And it was so wonderful. I was so glad that I saw that the sign on the building, Solara Electronics, it invited me to go in there, and he named it after the star being that helped him with the design of this product. And
that's amazing.
It's just wonderful that we have friends upstairs that are working with individuals down here. And a lot of the people do the work very, very quietly. And I'm just happy to be able to share this story about somebody that I knew personally who worked with our star friends and came through with a device not similar to the Integratron, but along the same levels of benefiting the planet. And unfortunately, it was rejected by the powers that be.
Well, maybe we can still do this when we get, when the powers that be are no longer the powers that be.
Yeah.
When they're the powers that were, which is the way I like to say it, then we can proceed with these kinds of things and we can bring them back,
And we could only guess the other gifts that they want to give to us that could improve the overall quality of life on this planet, because nothing can't be reversed. Everything can be reversed and put back into perfect harmony again, because our star friends have done this for their own planets and have benefited tremendously from it, whether it's removing disease and overcoming aging, whether it's regarding growing and purifying the environment for crops and for air and for all aspects of improving quality of life, even to the point of overcoming war and overcoming the problems with not being tolerant to one another. They've overcome those things and are offering those gifts to us as well, that they've overcome them and we can as well too. What we have to be is open and receptive and cooperative to being part of, a cosmic family of benefit and of being the best we can be to one another. Because, the things that we do to each other and the things that we take advantage of each other over, doesn't have to be that way. We could all benefit and have the highest quality of life and quality and quantity of life that one could ever expect, because that's what our star friends have.
Yes. And I wish that we had some kind of energy system that would repel, not necessarily kill, but just repel the people that are evil. they wouldn't be able to be here anymore.
It's funny. It's like I don't, and this is a great example in this story here, is that essentially they're allowed to do whatever they want. You had all the people who bought the products, all the people who knew that these products works, and nobody ever came forward. They all just let these
they let the companies take over.
Andrea, you make a very good point. Andrea, these people wanted to come forward and speak in support of it, but they were all quieted. They were all told their feedback was not wanted. Right. And that's sad, because
they were probably threatened.
But that's when they can only threaten. This is the thing. See, these kinds of people, and that's why I'm glad this popped out. These kinds of people, these kinds of organizations, these kinds of groups.
Yeah.
They can't target thousands and thousands of people. And this is how they win. And everything that they've done, in that they simply are allowed by humanity to continue doing these things. And again, this is why a lot of the off-planet people, I think, as Solara and the other mentioned, is like, we're not going to bring you down stuff if you're not going to stand up for yourself. This all has to do with, this has to do with people standing up for themselves. They're just going along with everything.
And there's strength in numbers. You have to have enough
You
people.
have to, and no one sticks to see, but they know this. Your industrial, your commercial interests, your big pharma, your politics, there is no politics. It's all bought. They're all put into place by these corporations. And the reason that they're allowed to exist and propagate their agendas is because all of the people, I mean, how many people are there in the world? All of the people in the world just go along with it. So you're basically saying, yeah, that works. We'll stick with this, all of their lies, it's just, you'd never have a war if nobody fought it.
I was
Andrea,
just
you bring
wondering,
something up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead.
I just had a question. I wonder, was this tried in any other country? Did they bring this information to any other countries in the
I
world?
believe some of them were being used in Canada.
Okay.
I don't think it was in Mexico at all. It was basically North America. And Andrea brought up something that I want to share with you. One of the other benefits of Nature Shield that George shared with me is it had the ability of being able to block psychotronic weapons.
Wow.
I think you answered your own.
Yes. So there,
Other-
that was one thing I was saying, if it can repel the, negative and evil
It did. It
things.
had that ability.
So yeah, apparently it didn't repel the lobbyists and the I wish it would have. But like I was also thinking in other countries where maybe they are more receptive, like maybe third world countries where they don't have like the same kind of politics that we have.
No, there's
Were
third
they
world.
ever able to do anything like say in India or, you
No.
know,
No, when they shut him down, they shut that very tightly, and he had to wind up giving up the building. He had to basically liquidate everything that he had to try to pay off debts, and his family was not receptive to him having lost everything. And
oh
when I would
yeah,
go and visit with them, they would think George and I are odd because we think that there are such things as star beings and there's such things as higher awareness and higher levels of consciousness. And they were very much down to earth folks. Nothing wrong with them, but they lived by the aspects of how we're taught to live. And anything outside of that was strange and different to them, and they couldn't wrap their head around it. And I felt very, very unfortunate that he had to go through that, but God bless him, he handled all that magnificently and without any bitterness or any regret.
well, I can see that in the Western world that there would be such a resistance because most of the Western world does not understand uh, metaphysics. They don't understand anything that they can't see in front of them that they can prove science.
Yes.
Like they just. So I could see that, and that's why I was saying like India or like the far, someplace where people are more open metaphysically. Why wouldn't the star beings go there and show someone there? Not saying that it was wrong to show George, but at the same time, while they're showing him, why wouldn't they go to another part of the world where people are more receptive
I think
and
that's a
show
great
them?
question, Linda. But they said that the problem was here, and they were hoping to solve it here. And it being
Okay,
able to block psychotronic utilization of weapons
right.
was important that they try to get it here. So
That
George
makes
went into
sense.
Lion's Den. He went into the
Right.
Lions.
That makes sense that they would, yeah, where they really need to, because those other cultures already accept
Well,
these kinds of
they actually don't.
things.
That's actually the
Some of them
it's well,
do.
they don't know how to their socio-political structures
Right,
are they're actually not dealing with things in the way you're explaining.
right.
uh they're very ritualized. I think that's and there's a distinct global structure system that makes sure that those countries are collapsed.
Right.
So there's no way. So basically they're very
Right.
rough. And they're not,
Right.
I think can be misunderstood, where people think these are advanced like spiritual civilizations. They're actually not, because most of their people are living in hell.
And they're
They're
not stable.
racing, they're like
Their
garbage.
governments aren't stable. Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
the
and
So
it's
government, the
true. A lot
governments are
of
bought
them,
off.
a lot of the other countries, there's a lot of corruption, and
Corruption.
people told me that to have and start businesses in some of these other countries, whether they're second or third world countries,
right.
the ability of being able to get permits, uh, it's like almost impossible.
Right.
If you don't give it over to the government, they don't want you to have it. They don't
Right.
want independent entrepreneurs that have successful businesses to take anything away from the government. The government has to be the be all and end all for everything. And
Right.
that's why so many people are drawn to the United States to be able to start businesses here that they couldn't in their own countries. And it's not that they don't like their own countries, they love them, but they said the corruption levels are so bad.
Right. So it's just bad
Any of
everywhere.
those countries, yeah,
It doesn't matter where you go.
well,
Yeah.
those governments in those third world countries are developing, even India, stuff like that. Those places like that, they're all bought off.
Mm.
And they're part of this ring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This isn't just the West. I mean, this dark deep state ring. So if I want to
It's
go and
everywhere.
gun run somewhere, or go into some of these third world countries, and but they're basically open books. Those third world countries are just the worst, because you can do whatever you want, because all they have to do, you're dealing with these cabals that have endless pockets, and all they have to
Mm.
do is buy off officials.
Right.
But it's changing. It is changing, and there's resistance that's falling by the wayside because they can no longer hold back the dawn, as we had discussed before. So I mentioned these stories of people who've tried their best, and of course they didn't succeed. But it doesn't mean that the efforts have not gone on, and that people are doing things behind the scenes. And that brighter day is coming. There are
Yeah.
other things that are going to come to light that people will see, and a lot of it is going to be introduced through advanced technology that people are going to see we could resolve issues using rational thought and logic, that we don't have to use artificial means to try to uh, better ourselves with.
Right.
Well, that's when it comes up to the people to actually say that. Because as it stands now, most of your humans are still drinking the Kool-Aid, as we say.
Yep.
If they don't stand up, then it's not gonna. I mean, I always give my students this example. Let's say we make a pill that sort of mitigates, maybe it's some kind of pain pill or something like that, that mitigates some kind of problem, right? And that's our bread and butter, is this pill that we manufacture. It's like, we're not interested in cures. I always tell my students this too.
Or
It was
prevention.
1993. I was at BU, and we go to these lecture series on Fridays, and one of the guys was a researcher who came and did a talk. And he says, these research facilities that you see, they're not looking to cure anything. That's common sense in a business model. If I run a big pharmaceutical company, why would I want to cure any disease?
They want to treat the symptoms and not the cause.
Of course.
Right.
Because I would be destroying where my profits come from.
Yeah.
And you see it, how that could be connected with companies like these chemical companies. They don't want to solve any problem. They want to sort of
It's like Monsanto or
oh
Archer
yeah,
Daniels Midland. I mean, they are multi-billion-dollar a year corporations.
yeah, yeah. And they actually feed into the big pharma, because if they're poisoning everybody and everybody gets sick, what do you need? More of these pills.
Yeah.
Right.
And petroleum is the basis for a lot of pharmaceuticals. So it's
Yeah.
all tied together. It's all tied together.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Until humanity, this is where we talk about the peeling down of the veils. So people are starting to hear through social media. Without social media, we would have nothing. How would you spread this information? But now through social media, people are starting to, the seeds are getting up. They're thinking, wait a minute.
Yes.
This is, they're starting to realize these guys none of these big corporations are out to help me. They're out to make money. They're out to exploit me. They're not doing anything in my interest, even though they're lying to me and pretending that they are.
Right.
So people are starting to put two and two together, and they're starting to see, and they're like, wait a minute, it's
Yeah. We just need enough people that are actually going to do something about it.
correct.
Yeah, it'll reach critical mass with consciousness, and they won't be able to stop it anymore.
Right.
That's what's going to happen.
Well, you're
Right.
seeing it in Europe now. All the farmers are standing up and fighting, and
Right.
we have endless supplies of manure that we can throw around. So you're starting to see, I'm actually not surprised that the farmers like myself are the first who are going to stand up and say, no way. We have all the equipment. We aren't afraid of anything. And we can simply blockade areas with no problems whatsoever. So
Yes.
United States is probably, I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened here yet. I don't know why it hasn't. But
It's just a matter of time. It will.
yeah,
It
and
will.
I spread that all the time. I said, when are we going to start blockading the streets with all of our farmers, with all of our tractors and our manure spreaders and our, all the different machinery that we use in the field? You can knock off a whole, and we know how to use that stuff. So I mean, it's like, we are probably going to be the leaders of this revolution across the globe, because the whole goal right now is to prevent us from getting food. And I will say, as Frank just mentioned here, with this product that was meant to restore, heal, and preserve agriculture, right?
Yes.
That's the number one thing they don't want, because they don't want you having access to good food. And what they're doing now legally, which I face myself on my own farm,
Yeah.
is they're manipulating the entire legal system all the way down to your town officials, where they're
Yes.
creating legislation to prevent people from growing food. All of the farmers that I know of, we're being hit so hard. It's unbelievable. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why are farmers being crushed?
Yes.
So
Of all the people. Yeah. Why the farmers?
that's who there's
Exactly.
going. Well, let me tell you, we're not gonna, we will never complain. Farmer,
No, don't mess
they're
with
actually kind
farmers.
of stupid taking us on, because we're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
we
they mess with the truckers, and now they're trying to mess with farmers, like the two groups of people that are not going to take it.
it's how you're going to produce food and how you're going to transport food.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to do, and that's why they're buying all the farmland. So what actually they're doing is they're purchasing, as this thing here, right? This product. What's actually happening across the globe is farmland is being purchased because small farmers can't survive anymore. So it's being purchased by these mega corporations, and
Mhm.
they're actually destroying, through all those chemicals, they're
Right.
actually sterilizing the soil. And if you say, why would the farmers use them? Because they make you use them. They make
Mm.
you use them. And they're controlling all of the seed. They're controlling all the biodiversity. They're controlling what you put in the ground. They're controlling how you take care of it.
Right.
And these mega corporations are literally sterilizing the earth. So you're not gonna be able to grow food on these areas anymore, because the
Yeah.
ground is dead. It's been basically nuked by chemicals. And the small farmer, who always maintained their soil, generally always try to maintain. I mean, if you destroyed your soil and you're a small farmer, you're up a creek, right? But a small farmer can no longer compete with these mega farms.
Right.
But all that'll change. All that'll change, and everything can be restored. Just have a
Yes.
positive outlook that it will change, because we have a lot of help behind the scenes that are moving things forward.
But the humans on the street, your average human on the street, has to understand what's going on.
Yes.
They trust too much. And it's not, I don't blame, I mean, they trust too much. They trust, as it shows here, they trust the devil. These
Yeah.
people that you think are out to help you, they're the devil. Everything they say is a lie. And the humans on the street have to understand this. And
Well,
when
that's being minimized. It's being minimized. It's being minimized.
Yeah.
They're
It's
learning.
only a matter of time, and it's going to happen. I just it's just we're in the middle of it right now. We're in the thick of it.
Oh yeah.
But thank you again for this opportunity to be able to share another bit of information and knowledge that I was given access to, that I look forward to sharing openly and spontaneously with anybody who would like to hear of these things, because so much has happened behind the scenes that no one really knows.
Oh,
There's so much.
And
Yeah, there's
and
so
it's
many
a joy
stories.
to share. It's always a
And
joy to share.
thank you for sharing all of your stories with us, Frank, because they're
Yes.
just priceless.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Very
And thank
valuable
you for your
information.
postings. Thank you for your
Abs-
postings. And more to
Absolutely.
come. More to come.
Yes, I'm really excited for that. Thank you.
Be safe. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Ciao for now.